Hello and welcome to PitchZone. It's Thursday. It's the day where one presenter comes into the PitchZone to show us a 2 to 3 minute pitch and then receives feedback from 4 different coaches as well as people watching us live right now on YouTube. If you would like to come in and have your pitch evaluated, please feel free. Go to pitchzone.live, and it's a very, very easy process to sign up. And for today, we actually have a very, very special day because we are welcoming back into PitchZone Jevona Johnson. Jevona, how are you? It's so good to see you again.
Yes, I'm doing great, Claudio. How are you?
Really, really, really good. Thank you. You were in the pitch zone 2 weeks ago. You are preparing for a pitch contest, a competition. So we invited you back. Show us your latest version because, as we all know, creating a really good pitch is an iterative process. You rehearse it, you practice it, you get feedback, you make some changes, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So it's a real pleasure that you took us up on the invitation to come back. And Jevona, as last time, you will have a couple of coaches helping you out here today. Are you ready to meet them?
Oh, yes, let's meet them.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So the first one is Nathan Gold, hailing from San Francisco. Super experienced pitch coach. Nathan, welcome back. You look ready.
Thank you. I am ready. It's freezing here in San Francisco, but I am ready.
It's freezing in San Francisco, and it's still early morning hours for you, right?
Oh, early by some people's standards. It's only 7:15 here, so I've been up for a couple hours.
All right. So next up is Scotty Spursum. Hello, you're also joining us from San Francisco. How are you today, Scotty?
I'm well, thank you.
Really happy to see you again. And we actually have the same team lined up today for Jevona. We have also Michael Marchak joining us from Chicago. Michael, how are you?
I am great, and actually it's a beautiful day here in Chicago, so it's a great fall afternoon, evening for looking forward to a wonderful good day.
All right. And with that, we are actually pretty much already ready to get started because we want to dive into the pitch as quickly as possible so that we have a lot of time to provide the feedback to Jevona. And before we do that, let me just bring in a couple of comments. We have Massimo Peroncelli, as every week. Massimo, hello, and thanks for joining us again. And he wants to know, what is the intended audience for your pitch today, Jevona?
So, same as last time, my pitch is for maybe an angel investor, but an investor of some sort.
Okay, an investor pitch. Massimo, put on your investor hat. And then we have Dwayne Wood. Dr. Dwayne, how are you? It's a real pleasure for you to stop in here. I always enjoy Dwayne's content. If you are interested in health and medicine, Dr. Dwayne, he is your man. Click on his YouTube handle there and see how he can help you stay fit and healthy. And if you do have a website, Dwayne, just put it in the comments here and I'll put it up on the screen. And then, of course, we also have Rick Pollack, one of our coaches as well. He is watching us today on YouTube and will provide his feedback in the comments. And I encourage all of you watching us right now live to help Jevona with your own observations and your own feedback in the comments. I will pull it in after her pitch Anything that you see that you think could help Jevona tighten up the pitch, make it better. Always keep in mind she is preparing for an important pitch competition, and we all want her to do extremely well in that competition. Jevona, are you ready?
Yes, I am. And I just wanted to also throw out there again that this pitch is 5 minutes. So I based my pitch
Oh,
today off of
yes.
that timing.
Oh, yes. I am so glad that you just mentioned that. Okay, since we don't have a countdown timer anymore, it doesn't really matter, but the timer, of course, is up here, right? It will stay in the same location when you are pitching. So yes, 5 minutes, because that is the time allowed in the competition. So with that, Jevona, I'm going to switch it over to you and your slides, and
Mhm.
take a deep, deep breath. And whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right, let's do this. People all over the world have a story to tell based on the way that they're dressed. Faith is always in style, and your style should always take you somewhere. But where is your style taking you? Hi, my name is Jevona, and I am the owner and founder of Fancy N Fleek LLC. I design faith based clothing and provide the flexibility to tailor a design to better fit you. I am reshaping the story on Christian apparel. But this is not just about creating fashion. Matthew 28, verses 16 through 20 tells us to spread the gospel and make disciples of all the nations. And why not look good doing it? Clothing and apparel are a great way to spread the message of God and the good news that we are called to share. But I am using a more holistic approach to support the well being of the mind, body, and soul. Fancy and Fleek LLC is a brand curated to meet you, no matter where you are on your journey with Christ. The problem is there's a shortage of stylish and trendy faith based clothing. There's limited designs, and sellers have a lack of spiritual alignment with God, therefore, leading to a lack of spiritual guidance and inspiration. I am overcoming this by spending countless hours with God through studying and research, using my fashionable knowledge to design with God in mind. My dream customers are Christian hip hop artists. I will market to faith based organizations like churches and bookstores, and then work my way up to big brand stores such as Target, who is actively searching for faith based apparel to sell in store.
Hmm.
One of my competitors has clothing that contradicts the statement as a faith based business, selling praise, spreading the word of God, having designs with skulls and bones on them, but what does God have in common with skulls and bones? In fact, Matthew 6, verse 24 says, "No one should serve two gods, for either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be loyal to one and despise the other." Rest assured here at Fancy and Fleek LLC, knowing that all designs are 100% biblically sound. Another one of my competitor has over 40 filed complaints to the Better Business Bureau for a lack of communication and contact information, leaving customers feeling abandoned. At Fancy and Fleek LLC, in addition to a support email, customers also have the capability of calling 24 hours a day to speak to an automated agent programmed to answer frequently asked questions or transfer you to a live person during business hours. In 30 days, I have created and published my website and social media accounts, designed over 100 shirts for a comedy event, and identified my hottest selling item. In the next 60 days, I will use sales funnels to promote traffic to my website and build an email list. I will release ads to support these funnels and introduce shipping worldwide. The faith apparel industry has sold over $4.5 billion a year. With shirts as low as $20, I am seeing a return on investment up 200%. My full time projection is $48,000 annually, and I am currently on track for this to increase 15 to 25% in 2023. Fancy and Fleek LLC will host pop up shops to produce revenue. I will engage with participants by passing out inspiration and business cards. encouraging followers on social media, and collecting customer information for marketing and prize giveaways. Prior to starting Fancy and Fleek LLC, I spent 5 years in the fashion industry, hosting over 20 different pop up shops, gaining experience in marketing, sales, fulfillment, and production. About few months ago, I was presented with an opportunity to be a vendor, and it was in that moment I decided now is the time to take a leap of faith and begin a new journey. Today, I am seeking $50,000 to help keep up with fulfillment. With this money, I will purchase additional machines to increase production 40 to 50%. I will purchase materials in bulk to decrease order processing times and money spent on individual items while boosting the profit margins. And I will also implement the expansion of workspace and storage areas. You can get connected with me by searching Fancy and Fleek LLC. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Jevona, and I am the owner and founder of Fancy and Fleek LLC, a brand curated to meet you no matter where you are on your journey with Christ.
Wow, wow, wow. That was really, really well done. And first things first, timing. Your timing was almost smack on the 5 minutes. So that was really, really great. I personally loved how you really started out very, very conversational. Very conversational, a good pace, a good conversational tone. And then at some point, all of a sudden, it sounded a little bit like you turned into a reading mode. So let me ask you, did you read today? Did you read parts of it? What was going on there?
I did read parts of it. It's because I didn't say what I wanted to say in the way I said it, so it kind of pushed me back a second, and I needed to get back on track. So I did read for just a split second, and then I tried to get back into the conversational mode.
Very good, very good. Okay, and Massimo just made a really, really good comment here, and that is, if you make a mistake, you stumble twice, right? If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Don't make a deal about it. Don't focus on it because nobody really knows that you just misspoke something, right? So just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. All right, so let me open the floor to feedback from our coaches, and this is going to go from one coach to the next, to the next, to the next, and then round again and round again. So let me just start with Nathan today. Nathan, what is your first group of comments that you have for Jevona today?
Thanks. The most important thing I noticed here today was speed. The speed of delivery without enough pausing didn't let me process some of the things that you were saying. And it felt a little bit rushed for some of the things that you were saying. And if you took a little bit more time and paused and allowed those words that you're giving us to like bounce around our brains a little bit more, you'll create more impact in our minds. And the one place that I recommend you maybe thin it out a little bit so you have that room to breathe is in the competition slide. I don't know the competition rules, but I don't believe you need to spend that much time on the competition. You can diss them pretty quickly and move on and get back a few 5-ish, 10-ish seconds. So that way you can spend a little more time in your pausing, because if you don't pause, then the audience doesn't really have a chance to process what you're saying and bring it to life or to get curious. So when you were reading, I a little tough love for you here. Okay, if you're reading a script, even when you're online like this, there is no reason to sound like you're reading because the words are right there, right? They're right in front of you. This goes for everybody that is reading their scripts out there. You don't have to sound like you're reading it because you've got the script in front of you. So even if, yeah, I'm looking at my script, blah, 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 I can still sound like I'm not reading it. And that's the trick. When you sound like you're reading, that's usually the phase where you're learning the words. And then once you deliver the words or perform the words, That's what I hope in your third iteration of this, you come back and perform those words in a way that makes us feel the way you feel about what you're saying. Case in point, you said, and why not look good doing it? Why not really take that line and say something like, and why not look good doing it? Use your voice, your persuasion voice, and perform that line, and it will make a lot more impact in our minds. Okay, and there's probably 10 or 12 places you can do better at the emphasis of the words within the sentence. Okay, I'll pass it over to the other coaches, and happy to come back, and I've got a whole list of things we can talk about.
Okay, don't mind me looking down because I'm taking notes, okay?
All
Not a
good, all
problem.
good, all good. So before I turn it over to Michael, I just want to bring up another comment that Stuart made. Stuart is also one of our coaches that today is watching it on YouTube. And his advice is saying it in your own words usually outweighs remembering a script perfectly. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. The script, it may serve you well in the beginning. And then once you get into the groove, don't worry if you are saying something slightly different than what you had originally in your script, as long as the message is right on target. All right, so let's go to Michael. Michael, what kind of feedback do you have for Jevona?
I love the fact that you showed more of your merchandise in this particular time around, because before that was one thing that we missed out on, is seeing some of your designs. So I really appreciate the fact that you did include your designs in nearly every slide, which was fantastic. When you start talking again about a couple little things, in an investor perspective, you did include some ROI and you did include some targets. Again, the trending, when you start looking at trending for next year, if you are in a startup mode like this, while you were very conservative in where you're approaching next year's maybe 15 to 25% better next year, that's not going to be super exciting for somebody who's putting their funds in, because they're expecting you to grow exponentially in the first year or two as you're pushing through and doing your growth mode, getting new clients and whatnot. If you're focusing exclusively on pop-up shops, maybe 15% is accurate. But if you said, hey, we want to get into bookstores, we want to get into it takes one bookstore and you will be overloaded. You get a bookstore chain and you won't know what to do. If you get 3 bookstore chains, you'll be underwater because you won't have any idea what to do. You have to think big, plan for that, but think big as you're going forward, if in fact you want to get that way. If you don't want to get that way, let us know from an investor perspective, because again, we want to know how the money is going to be working. And if it's not working to grow at that kind of pace, you're not going to interest us in our funds. Again, going back to what I mentioned the first time around is, if your 15 and 25% pop-up shops is your target and what you really want to go for, get a loan. If you're looking to grow massively and have bookstore chains and Target carry your merchandise, okay, now you're interested in me, but 15% growth is ridiculous. I want to see 5,000% growth next year if you go to Target, because you should be able to ship to every single one of their stores and have 50 designs show up immediately, which then comes to some of the questions that you brought up in terms of what you're using the funds for. I don't remember you actually asking how much you're providing or asking for, how much money you're looking for. But the first one is adding machines. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Well, I know I'm old-fashioned. I'm old. Thinking of an adding machine to me is a calculator. So when I see adding machines, that's what the first thing that came to my mind is you're buying adding machines. I would say production equipment is probably a better way of terming that, because that'll give you an idea. We're producing this in-house to manage it. Storage, distribution, etc. All those things make me think of large, right? If I'm doing this out of my basement, I buy a machine, I do screen printing, and I stick it in a box in the corner, and I'm good. But if you're looking at producing materials, you need production, distribution, Now you're thinking larger. So as you're envisioning what that next year looks like, if you want to make it a larger business, you need to plan for that and talk about that. If you don't, then you need to understand that you may not capture the investors' imaginations or interest.
So in what way would you suggest me kind of going about it? Because I do want to be a bigger, a bigger store. I don't want to just do pop-up shops. I'm not really, when I see the future of Fancy and Fleek, I don't see something small. I see something exponentially big. So what do you feel would be kind of the best way to express that during my presentation, other than using
Tell me
different
what you're
words
doing
like
to go there.
distribution?
Tell me what you're doing to go there. We've been in conversations with 3 different bookstore chains to be able to carry this. We've started discussing this with the target procurement teams, and they're interested, or you're expressing some kind of interest rather than, I'm going to target Walmart. That's a great idea. The likelihood that you'll get there is probably low. So understand that if you have movement in those kind of areas, I want to know about it because as an investor, this is for anybody who's pitching this stuff. If you're trying to engage an investor, let them know that you have something either protected, your designs in this case are protected, your intellectual property, but you also have contacts and connections and you're making progress. And the reason why you need the money is because you need to grow rather than I need the money in hopes that I grow.
Wow.
That
Excellent.
was excellent.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
thanks so much, Michael. And I'm sure there's something else coming up as we are progressing through the session here. For now, let's turn it over to Scotty. Scotty, what is your feedback?
Yeah. So, Jevona, this was a much more mature presentation. So you did a great job. I really, really appreciated the work that you put in since we last saw you. And I had reviewed my notes also, in preparation for this. So I was very impressed with this version. Much, much better. I agree with the things that the other coaches have said. To add on to that, in terms of your market, you mentioned Christian pop artists, I think was the first line of where you're going with this. Is there anybody you have your eye on? Have you been in touch with anybody yet, or whether you would say, and specifically, I'd like to get A, B, and C. It would just show a little bit more about your research into the marketplace and what you're going after. And I had no idea that Target was actually looking for this kind of clothing. So that's super interesting. I mean, again, getting to what Michael was saying is like investors want to know where you're going with it, as he said, but also you have to have a few lines in there that are super repeatable, because when people are looking at this as an investment, they have to be able to retell your story, perhaps to their investment committee or to their spouse or whoever it is that they need a check off from before they can invest in your company. So if you had one sentence to say, like if you were introducing yourself at a meet and greet, what would it be about your business, about your company, and how you're trying to take it? 1 or 2 sentences, even. It's hard to do. I'm kind of putting you on the spot. So.
The first thing that came to mind would be how I'm curating this brand to meet you no matter where you are on your journey with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
The second one would be that I'm using a holistic approach to support the well-being of the mind, body, and soul by using clothing and apparel to express that, or to help, kind of support that well-being.
Which is great. To me, that's your inspiration. That doesn't tell me why I should retell your story to invest in your business. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I pressed mute. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So perhaps like work on that. I mean, again, every element of your presentation was really great. I think if you were to be able to spend a little bit more time on the business plan and flesh that out more, where we can actually see where it's going, and the return. And as Michael said, the returns are too are maybe too low for some early investors, because typically they're looking for exponential returns, because not every deal that people invest in is going to go very well. So it's a game. It's a game on the investor side, to gamble and see which company is going to actually hit the returns that they're expecting. Oh. And I thought you recovered really well when you sort of lost your way. But again, don't worry about it. You don't need to make an extra comment about it. Just continue on. Tell me a little bit more about this next presentation coming up, and will there be a Q&A? How many people? What's the medium?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure how many people there's going to be. I know the last one was about 12, so I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere around 12 to 15. And as far as I know, there's not going to be a Q&A, but I'm going to probably prepare for one just in case.
And that's brilliant. You always should prepare for a Q&A. And honestly, you should prepare for the questions that you don't want to be asked and be prepared for how to answer them. Because if you don't get one, at least you're prepared. And if you do get one, at least you have an avenue in your head of where you want to go with that answer. You can predict probably 95% of the questions you're going to get asked. And if you haven't already, write down all the questions that you get. If you went to, I've forgotten whether you did another pitch competition before this, but going forward, write down all afterwards, or have someone record all the questions that you receive, because that will again help you flesh out what it is that you actually want to say in your presentation and what you want to leave for the Q&A. So again, getting back to, if you lose your way and you forget something in the Q&A, you can bring up a point, or you can bring up something else that you weren't really able to fully address. So you've always got a little bit of extra time, especially with the Q&A involved in your pitch. Oh, anyway, and just watch your lighting. A couple of times you have faded into the shadows. And I'm always working on lighting too. I think Claudio and Nathan and Michael have it nailed. It's always tricky for me because the lights hit my eyes. But at any rate, a couple of times I couldn't see you at all. Not during your presentation, it was fine, but during this part, I wasn't able to see you. So, okay, I think Michael may have another comment.
I do. So as we talked about the reading part earlier, and again, these are things that you've definitely improved on in terms of the words you're using. I'm not going to harp on the misspeak, because we all do that. But the reality is, I think when you're talking, we want to hear you, not necessarily your perfect pitch, because someone's invested in you. So when you're talking, I want to feel your passion for the stuff, and not the well-crafted words, because then you come off as an infomercial, which doesn't have any passion at all, right? So if you're talking about faith, and your passion should come through 100%. So in this, I would prefer that you do maybe use bullet points if you have to use anything to remember where you're at in the conversation, and then talk to that. That way there's no script. It's you talking to the stuff. And that way I get to see you rather than your words.
Okay, yes, because I do have a whole script that I've written.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a bonus to be able to be able to do that. Also, in your competition, I don't know if you're doing this in person or over video. If you're doing it over video, I know PowerPoint and others have like a notes section when you're presenting to be able to see the notes as you present. Leverage that with the bullet points on there if you need to. But honestly, again, really focus, because people are watching you. They'll glance at the slides, look for some pertinent information, but they're looking at you. They want to hear you. They want to hear who you are and get that trust feeling. So focus on that.
Excellent advice. And Nathan will definitely have a tip for you later on as well, Jevona, on how you can make your words, when you write your script, how to make your words really sound more like the spoken word than the written word. But before I turn it over to Nathan again, there is another comment that Massimo made. here in the comments. And this is a really, really important point, I think, such a great recommendation. You had a great opening sentence. Faith, or inside of your opening, you had faith is always in style. Faith is always in style. And Massimo thinks that you could actually even start with this sentence. Have these the first words that come out and then go into the actual pitch. Now, Nathan has a couple of things, including the one I was just mentioning before. So, Nathan, please take it from
Yes.
here.
Thanks. I hope I know what you're talking about. You're talking about dictate and voice typing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay. So, Jevona, this is a tip that I frequently give out to people because they don't know that a feature like this is even available in things like Google Docs and Word, Microsoft Word. So one way to get your natural voice into a script is not to type it in. You literally do what Michael said before. Set up the bullets that you want to cover, those trigger words for each point you want to make. And then go into Google Docs and go to the tools and click voice typing. And then make sure your children are outside of the room so it's quiet. And then you dictate and speak. Just talk, your natural conversational tone. Word has the same feature called dictate. And it literally will just take all your words and put them down exactly as you're saying them. Yeah, maybe it's 96% correct, but you can go in and correct the other stuff. And then don't try to memorize it because there's no need to. They were your own words. The next trick is take your smartphone, audio recorder only, voice recorder. Pick up the script that you just spoke and speak it again using emphasis, energy, everything about it, like right into the phone. Look at the time. It's at 4:54. Listen to it, 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 and it'll become like a song eventually. Okay? Now, there is one more thing I did want to bring up. I was very impressed when you got to the slide where you had Heal Cancer, the Heal Cancer shirt. Is that one of your designs?
That is actually a collab that I did with someone. So we kind of put it together, but they just didn't want any of the credit. They just like, hey, I just want to help you. So maybe you could make this part pink. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be cute, you know? So
Wait a minute, that was a long answer to a yes or a no.
it was a yes and a no. That's why. Oh, I see how
Okay,
it
well,
disappeared. I'm sorry.
you need to decide on that. But if they gave you permission, then it's your design. The reason I asked you that is because I thought that was one of the most creative designs I saw, where you had the he can out of the heal cancer, and those kinds of designs I think are the enticing aspects of what you're doing, as opposed to just having a different kind of a graphic on there that's fun to look at. So I encourage you to use more of those designs and maybe make them more prominent. But I really appreciated the fact that that was well positioned, and it just popped out for me. I don't know why, it just did.
Okay, yes, yes.
And building on that a little bit. I I remember the comment brand curated. I think that was one of the first things you mentioned when you were talking about your market segment. Um, so do you have any numbers around the brand curated opportunities?
Well, that was in the overview section when I was saying Fancy and Fleek is a brand curated to meet you, no matter where you are on your journey with Christ.
Okay. But so then you did have so does that mean that this person came to you with a request for a very specific event? Is that correct?
Are you speaking in regards to the shirt?
Yeah, the cancer one.
No, no one came to me specifically for that. It was just that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that is how that shirt and then the other Hope shirt came about. Just doing a
Mm.
new design for that.
Okay, so you figured out a way to do thematic designs around other things happening in the industry. Okay, not that you would be
Yes.
going to vendors saying I can help you with the walk for breast cancer or something like that. I mean, that would be a wonderful account to have. Um, I just didn't know
Say
if there
that.
were numbers around that kind of thing.
Oh, yes. No, I actually started to design those for an event that I was going to attend. So it was a breast cancer fashion show that I was aimed to be a vendor at. And so I took those and then I kind of made it matched with my brand so that it could still match the events, but then also still match what I want to do with my brand. And then just came about as like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was really creative, and it feels like there's a lot of opportunity there. And also, I can see your shirt more elegantly than I could see what you were wearing last time. Yeah, and I think it's show the top part again though. It's founded in faith and joined by love. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Which is wonderful because I was admiring your clothing even before we started. So I'm glad you're wearing something that's easy for us to read, and then also that we could see more of them in your presentation. You might be able to do a few more by the time you've got your next presentation coming. I'm not quite sure what else you've got working on, what else you're working on, but yeah, I thought I'm very glad you did that.
Thanks. See, I doing my slides this time around. I was unsure if I should put my shirt designs on like the problem slides or like the competitor slides because I didn't know if that would kind of be contradicting what I was talking about. So that is why I didn't put anything on those slides.
Yeah, you don't want them all to be too busy, but when you can, you certainly want to sprinkle your products in. And I think I can't remember how many you had in there. Were there 3?
There were a total of 7 shirts in there this time.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that at the end also we could scan the QR code. So I think that was fine. I don't know about the other coaches, but I think the number that you put up was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it as well. I like it quite a bit. So yeah, very good feedback. I'm just gonna look quickly to all of the coaches. Anybody has some last minute additions or anything that was triggered in your mind while the discussion was going on? Nope. Nathan, please take it from here.
Just one thing, Jevona. The money that you're asking for, did you say that you're planning to buy equipment that you can produce your own shirts?
Yes. So I could
Okay.
produce them in a faster way, faster
Fast.
production timing.
So to Michael's point earlier, if you got an order for 1,000 shirts, how long would that take you to do?
Currently, right now, longer than I would hope it to, which is why I would definitely need some money to get that newer machine because again, it would
Okay.
increase my timing. So right now, it would definitely take me at least a few weeks.
And if you lost the deal because you couldn't do it in 40 or 72 hours, you have options, right? My point is this. If you invest in the hardware to produce these t-shirts, then you need inventory to print on, right? And you need all of this upfront money to start this process going. There are services out there. To me, the obvious answer is potentially looking at the t-shirt printing services that are online right now as services. And yes, your margins will go down a bit, but you'll have more chance to produce faster and maybe iterate more without having to find space for all the equipment and then have inventory and have to have all these different size shirts and different fabrics. It sounds a little bit like, you might be putting the cart before the horse here in terms of getting all the equipment when the equipment is already in some businesses that you can leverage. And it's just something to think about. But I'm worried that if you try to raise money to just get equipment, to Michael's point earlier, investors like him are not going to be as terribly interested because it sounds like it's going to take a long time for a big return, maybe 5 years or more, where there might be faster, simpler ways, even cutting your margins a little bit to get the business into that state where you have a product market fit. And now you can scale it. When you scale it, then maybe you go get a warehouse and put all the equipment in it and print your own shirts. It just feels a little bit like maybe to look at another option there. And I'll stop right there. Sorry.
No, that was absolutely great, because, we are not only here to help you with your pitch, but to think through certain aspects as well that are reflected in the pitch, right? Because the pitch is nothing else than a reflection of your thought process and where you're gonna go with it. So great round of feedback today. Again, Jevona, this was your second time here. Did you expect to get yet another load like this?
Sorry, I missed the question. My daughter hurt herself.
Did you expect to get all this feedback after you already came through the first time? And this is your second time here, and we are not done yet, right?
We are not done. And no, I didn't expect to get it, but I'm grateful that I did. So I have no complaints. I'm appreciative over all of the feedback. And sorry, guys.
It's okay. This is the new professional life out there, with all the solopreneurs juggling life balance, the private and the professional life. This is all good. So yeah, you will be coming back in, I believe, 3 weeks from now. That gives you then another week to prepare for your competition. And in the meantime, we'll have other presenters, like our next week's presenter also took us up on the offer to come back a second time. Let's bring her back, Shalini. Oh, Shalini, something with your camera looks a little bit off. And I think I know what I need to fix this. All right, so here we go. This is a little bit better, not perfect yet. Shalini, welcome back. Shalini? There may be some technical issue. It almost looks... No, you can hear us, but I cannot hear you, Shalini. Are you on mute? Now you muted yourself. All right. Yep, something not quite right, but let that not be a problem. Shalini, we cannot hear you at all right now. And I'm not sure if you can hear us. So in any case, for those of you watching, this is Shalini, and Shalini will be our presenter next week. I'm gonna put you onto the side over there for a moment. Shalini will be our presenter next week, and I really look forward to see the improvements she has made since we saw her last week. And with that, we are getting almost to the end. So my call is always at the end. If you want to improve your pitch, apply and join us here at PitchZone. We are always looking for presenters. As I just mentioned, Shalini will be up next week. And then the following week, we do not have a presenter on the schedule yet. So this might be your opportunity. Visit pitchzone.live and simply pick a date that you want to come here to the Pitch Zone and show your pitch. And with that, I want to thank all of the coaches for helping Jevona today and giving her a lot of thoughts and input to make that pitch even better. And of course, Jevona, thank you very much for being such a great coachable entrepreneur coming in here into PitchZone. Absolutely wonderful session today, and I look forward to seeing you all next week with Shalini when we can hear and she can hear us. And with that, I wish you all a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. See you again next week.